The other day, I had an epiphany. I was scrolling mindlessly on my phone, as one does, and I came across this monstrosity. The Fairly Odd Parents reboot, and it was just as bad as I expected it to be. Mindless dribble plot lines, a flashy art style, and an ovate unfaithfulness to the source material. And then I realized these phenomena are not unique to the Fairly Odd Parents. These symptoms carry on to many remakes and reboots that have sprouted from Hollywood in the past few years. Whether it's animated or live action, movie or TV show. And if this were just a one-off thing in media, I wouldn't be complaining. But this is a repeated canister spreading to more and more properties, and is only destructive in nature. And so I gotta take the mantle and expose what makes these reboots so inherently bad. It was originally Fairly Odd Parents trash reboot number 1 that inspired me to make this video. But how they made another one, and it's animated. That's where I draw the line. Now, I'm old enough to remember back in Yale 2016 when everybody was trashing the new reboot at the time, Teen Titans Go. Then it was the Ben 10 reboot, the Powerpuff Girls reboot, the rise of the TMNT. The list goes on.
Man, Fat Epic, ain't the rise of the TMT a really good show?
Shut up, Russ.
Man, Fat Epic, you like school in summertime.
School in summertime?
School in summertime.
You're like the Fairly Odd Parents reboot, woke and gay.
Man, Fat Epic, you like school in summertime, no class.
No one really respects reboots as an inherent property, especially in the manner that they're handled in the modern era. It's almost like a safe opinion these days to say, "Oh, Hollywood, an original. Oh, Hollywood bad." But when you take a deeper look, you realize it's not just about the originality. These Disney reboots do more than just rip off the original for monetary gain. No. They actively disrespect the source material as they do it all. Nobody really respects reboots as an inherent property, especially in the modern era. They have to warp the brand to their liking, whether it's for monetary, social, or storytelling purposes. If you really want to give them credit, Teen Titans Go syndrome has only gotten worse. Because instead of just telling unfunny stories, modern reboots, especially in the animated realm, aim to purposely disrespect the source material. Starting with the fact that the original creators don't want this kind of stuff ever. We've all heard about how Stephen Hillenburg never really wanted a reboot of SpongeBob, but after his late passing, Nick has capitalized on 2 already. thankfully pulling in little to no ratings. When a reboot is properly wanted by the creators, it usually does quite well, and it actually delivers true to the vision. When it doesn't, it's just a floundering attempt to show what was good and unique and cash in someone else's creation. Let's give it bright, saturated animation to the point where the kids can get a Cornelia ulcer. Kids like bright colors, right? But I feel like everything I'm saying only relates to reboots post 2010. Because prior to, most iterations weren't like this. They were better than the original, while actually keeping gritty tones and cool, brooding art styles. Now it's just a rainbow contest because it's woke to see which show is brighter, and the rest that will keep the kiddies in their seats a little longer. Let's make all the characters flanderized and dumb while we're at it. Kids connect to dumb people, right? That also gives us a cheap way of actually creating humor. These reboots go back to square one while ignoring all the story arcs that preceded them with cheap-looking animation and much shallower characters.
Man, Fat Evan, ain't Ben 10 Ultimate Alien a sequel, not a reboot?
Shut up, Russ. It's a new show. It counts. They expect folks to be all on board when they announce one of these. Don't forget the forced memes and trends, disgusting imagery, and weird detailed faces. They'll often ditch the grand arcs and storylines for a slice of life episodic show, or after any substance or long-term stakes. Now, I already made a whole separate video about how being more mature doesn't necessarily make a show better. That gives a lot more nuance than I'm frankly giving here. But part of a reboot is the fan service that really you don't have to deliver to the original fans, to the original property. You can't just say you're delivering something new for the old generation while abandoning the current, while also abandoning all the people who made your franchise what it was by watching all of those years ago. Don't ruin our childhoods for your own creative laziness.
Man, Fat Evan, you can still watch the old show. It's not like they deleted it. Why can't you just watch the old show? How's your childhood ruined?
Shut up, Russ. They're making it gay. It just makes you ask why. Not to mention how they unnecessarily have to a sudden change about everything in the show. I mean, like, nobody wants to talk about it, but the current bandwagon is the whole race swapping thing they like to do with animated characters. April O'Neil, Timmy Turner, Velma, etc. There's a whole voice actor thing too. Everybody remember when Hank Xavier was shamelessly outed for playing Apu on The Simpsons because he wasn't the race of the character? It's almost like voice actors are supposed to portray things they're not. Here's another shocker. This guy is not actually an anthropomorphic sponge. I mean, like, this also happened to Mike Henry for playing Cleveland Brown, and Allison Brie Lilly apologized for playing Diane from BoJack Horseman because the character wasn't Vietnamese. Oh, so if a Vietnamese person had to voice that character and she feels so sorry about it, is she gonna donate all the money she made on that show to Vietnamese charities? Or no, is it just a bunch of false outrage for a non-issue nobody cares about? And when everything is racial, it's the only thing I could see when watching. I never saw Blade as a black character, or Cyborg, or Gerald, or Static Shock.
Man, Fat Abbott, ain't Static Shock the name of the show, not the guy?
Shut up, Russ. That's his name. The first thing on Google said so. A lot of my favorite characters are aka not Russ's stupid fucking face. People of various ethnicities and racial tones. The black female Timmy Turner is clearly just a cheap attempt to reboot this property without any other significant pitches for change. I mean, for the diversity, folks, there must be a point where this hurts the cause more than it helps it. This video just ain't about the new race swapping phenomenon. It's an extremely prevalent symptom of a larger than me issue, which ties into the lack of respect for staying faithful to the original property. Maybe Butch Hartman wants Timmy to be raced and gender swapped, which is why he has no direct involvement in the creative department of the project. I found that unlikely.
Man, Fat Abbott, ain't he got like a executive producer credit and like endorsed the show on TikTok when it was coming out, you know?
Shut up, Russ. Butch Hartman has made so much great stuff in the past 15 years. It's absolutely insulting to see folks ruin the original vision of a character because people want to see themselves on screen. These people are so uncreative to create their own stories, so they need to ruin existing stuff to be able to call themselves inclusive and hip with the times. This also absolutely hinders the episode and story quality, as the main selling point here is the obvious element that's right in front of us, but nobody's allowed to acknowledge it for some reason. You watch a single episode of Rise, A New Wish, Patrick Star, or Camp Coral, and you see that these shows are unfaithful to the source material. It's not just about the race swapping issue, it's about being unfaithful. Being unfaithful has different forms, and the reason I focus on that issue is because it is the most prevalent at this point, and maybe 10 years ago, the discussion was completely different. The discussion was about a different form of unfaithfulness. Some shows still suffer from that I mentioned. SpongeBob, there are plenty of other examples where I just despise seeing a person's work be disrespected when they likely sacrificed like hell to turn it into a reality. And some studio executive just thought a reboot for ratings and completely change their original character into something just to appeal for a bandwagon. Now, in live action, you could claim that the actors have to audition and the skill level who will get the role, and that would be fair. But when it's an animated character made out of pixels, it's a completely different situation. But even that's under question when the new Snow White or Ariel can't even sing. But still, I preferred tons of other actors. I don't know. Am I crazy? I feel like I'm living in Emperor's new clothes. People just disagree with me on this because it's the right thing to say or whatever, but most people probably agree with these common sense points deep down. When a character is good, race shouldn't matter, nor should the new spin you put on the character, whether it's a gimmicky change in the age, the gender, the design, anything more broadly like their persona or attitude in a larger sense. Even the new Lion King pissed me off because they clearly capitalize on this by turning one of the greatest animated films of the 90s into a National Geographic documentary, with the occasional reminder that this is a Lion King reboot. When they're being more unfaithful to the source material, like Cinderella or Beauty and the Beast, it doesn't bother me as much. I think the directors made a 94 masterpiece just to have it with their own hands be turned into a live action CG reboot. It's so stupid. Anyway, I can't wait to see a Static Shock or Spa movie, and while they're at it, it wouldn't hurt to rate swap one more movie.